every version of Recruit in Rainbow Six Siege. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a historical friggin' journey. I think there's been a total of like 4 versions of Recruit, I think. But yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a nostalgic journey. So, you know, if you're a nostalgic guy, you might cry. You might shed a tear down your leg.
The recruits are the backbone of Team Rainbow, and have played a massive part in the narrative recently. So why would—
Also, last time pausing. Don't type cap. But, R6, can we, like, stop? Like, can we go back to the old Recruit, please?
to do in this video was take a look at the history of the recruits in Rainbow Six Siege and highlight every recruit we've ever had. There's a high chance—
What was that one? What was that one? I've never seen that man in my life. I've never seen that man in my life. No, seriously. That must have been like beta?
Ever had. There's a high chance there's going to be some in here which you've never seen before, so make sure you drop a like on this video if you enjoy, sub if you haven't already, and let's start taking a look at the recruits. So let's go all the way back to the closed alpha of Rainbow Six Siege, where this was how Recruit looked. But as the game would continue to develop into an alpha and then a closed beta, we would start to get—
Bro, look at the logos of the operators too, chat.
Our first ever full design of Rainbow Six Siege's Recruit. Donning a color scheme and style not too far from those of previous Rainbow Six games. The massive standout feature of this version of the Recruit is the fact that their face is fully covered and they are wearing sunglasses. Their operator badge would also change as well depending on the CTU which you had chosen for that recruit. We'll get into that a little bit more when we move into the next version of Recruit, as that is how Recruit used to operate.
Bro,
I'd like to point—
this is the old plane. Look at R6, bro. This is like 11 years ago.
Now as well, between the alpha and beta, Recruit would go to his beret style icon. It wouldn't look like the final product. This would still be in the more early version where operators icons looked a bit different, but the Recruit did move away from the R6 logo and then the country flags to the beret style, where it would then evolve with the rest of the operator icons as well. So between this time and then the release of the game back in 2015, Recruit would go through a little bit of a design change.
Now this right here is the best Recruit of all time. This is the most iconic shit of all time. Like R6, I'm gonna be honest, y'all have done your best year of updates ever for year 11. It's gonna be the best year ever. Cherry on top would be bringing this guy back.
The uniform would remain mostly the same, albeit a tiny little bit of a color change, but the main difference here was that this recruit had a different face. Instead of a fully covered up face, the mouth was now exposed, and as well as this, the sunglasses were now replaced by goggles. Very reminiscent of the original design for the reserves back in Rainbow Six 1998. This right here
R6 has been around since the 90s, dude. That is insane.
Be the birth of the most iconic design that would serve Rainbow Six Siege for a majority of its lifespan. Now, this original version of the Recruit, and like the one before it, would have a bit of a unique gimmick, as they would be different depending on the CTU you have chosen. So when Rainbow Six Siege launched back in 2015, there were only 5 CTUs. The SAS, the FBI SWAT, the GIGN, the Spetsnaz, and the GSG-9. And depending on what loadout you picked, you would have a recruit from one of those CTUs. So if you were an SAS recruit, you would be a 1 health 3 speed and have the options of the SAS's loadout.
Bro, the recruit rush that everybody did was the M870, the GSG-9. You would get 5 people on attack and go M870. And just run into the building.
If you chose an FBI SWAT one on attack, you could bring a shield, for example. Massive thanks to the R6 wiki here for archiving all of this, and I'll show on screen their graphs highlighting what the differences between the attacking and defending recruits were, depending on their CTU. Not only would this change their stats and their loadout, they also had unique voice lines as well, respective of their CTU. I've had quite a hard time finding these archived, which is a bit of a shame, so hopefully they're out there and I've just missed them, because the only one I've been able to find so far is from the GIGN recruit. Take a listen.
Frag grenade is hot!
Claymore mine deployed.
Relax, friend! I will help you! Mine deployed! Claymore is ready! Throwing stun grenade!
My
Claymore mine deployed. That's aura, dude. That is horrible. Bro, we should watch some intros after this.
Deployed.
Frag grenade is hot!
So yeah, if anyone knows where to find the other CTU recruits and their voice lines, let me know, because I really hope that that isn't lost media. And from a gadget perspective, they worked similar to how Striker and Sentry work, but...
See, bro, the thing about Recruit, the catch-22 about Recruit, was the fact that, like, you could only have iron sights. So, like, the R4C was chopped. Everybody just used shotties.
A lot more limited. You could bring 2 secondary gadgets, however, there was a lot of restrictions on what you could pair up between them. They were a lot more restricted for balancing reasons.
Whoever I'm watching right now in this clip is bronze max.
Also, a fun detail is they would have a bit of a visual difference depending on what armor you were. This was pretty cool considering the recruits didn't have customization at this time. They didn't even have a slot in the operator menu in the main menu. They were simply just an option you could pick and you had a bunch of presets. Now, time would go on and Recruit would eventually be restricted from being played in Ranked as he was deemed too powerful. I know, crazy to think. Because one of the things you have to remember here is Recruit could be picked 5 times. It wasn't—
Oh, yeah, I could remember that. Oh my god, dude, yes.
Limited to 1 player on the team. Everyone on the team could play as Recruit. So Recruit would be restricted from Ranked and simply become—
Dude, you could literally run Montaigne, Blitz, Blackbeard, and then 2 Recruit shields and just be chud maxing.
A casual only option. Then in 2018, Ubisoft would do one of the most unique things they've ever done with Rainbow Six Siege, and that was the limited time Outbreak event. Now, the amount of resources that went into this—
Bro, I don't think I played this, bro. I don't think I played this event.
Event was insane. You can tell when you played it. This was Siege's first ever proper PvE experience, and there was just so many new mechanics, like the air jab effect that would be later used for Nomad, originated from this event when a smasher would run into you. The same effect then later being used on Oryx. So much stuff came from this event. They put a lot of work into it. But something that was very interesting about the Outbreak event is that it had an entirely new skin for the Recruit. Yes, in the Outbreak event, the recruits were specifically FBI operatives. I'm not exactly sure why it was only the FBI ones. I imagine since the Outbreak took place in this event only in the United States, and this is something you'd probably want to keep on the down low as much as possible, there is no point in bringing in other recruits from other nations. The only other nations that need to know this are the Rainbow operatives, and the recruits themselves should only come from the United States, since that's where this Outbreak had started. And I do want to quickly note, Outbreak is in a separate timeline. This technically didn't happen in Rainbow Six Siege's lore. It happens in the Rainbow—
Chat, was this mode good? Like, did y'all play this? Bro, I heard Outbreak was good. Like, I heard this mode was good.
Rainbow Six Extraction timeline. But this event did give us a brand new look for the Recruit. We got to see a really HD image of it, as well as an in-game player model, and it even gave the Recruit an entirely new operator icon. Honestly, I really like this new icon, and we never got to see it again outside of this. Unfortunately, the FBI Recruit would only remain in this event, and he was meant to return later in the spin-off game for this event, Rainbow Six Extraction. He was meant to come back as a full playable operator, design and everything the same.
Holy Mauger, by the way. Look at that bone structure, dude. Holy Mauger. Look at the jawline, too.
One from Outbreak, but unfortunately, Rainbow Six Extraction would flop, and they would cancel any further content for that game. This is my favorite design for the recruits so far, and we never got to see him again. And I was so close as well. As someone who played Extraction, I was waiting for him to come, and it never happened. So sad. I hope we get this back as a cosmetic one day, because I just love what this recruit stands for. I love how he looks, and I miss him. Then we move into 2020, where recruits would face their first major rework. Not this one, actually, a different rework. What this change for the recruit done was basically standardize them across the board. Instead of them being CTU specific recruits, they were now all just Rainbow recruits, meaning they had all the same loadout and they weren't separated differently with speeds and other CTU options like they were before. This meant that there was now a significantly smaller pool of weapons you could choose from. One of them no longer being available was the attacking shield.
Yeah, like, dude, R6, y'all are like the fun police, bro. Jesus Murphy, y'all are the fun police, man.
which many people were not happy with. And with this broad standardization of the recruits, they would also limit all their voice lines to those,
There's way too many kids having fun right now. Let's burn it all to the ground. Like that, is that what the Ubisoft meeting is? But I'm not gonna dig into Ubisoft because year 11 is their best year ever in terms of updates. Like, not even close. There's never been a year that good from them. So, I rest my case.
of the American FBI one. It doesn't mean that every recruit is now an FBI op, but they just used that one specific voice lines and got rid of the rest, which was a bit sad to see. And this would start to be the beginning of the end for the recruit. This first rework they'd done to him made the popularity of the recruits go down. There wasn't really the fun 5-man shield rush you could do anymore, or the 5-man M870. A lot of the identity and playstyle that was built up with the recruits since launch was lost in this initial rework. They made the
this is what I'm saying. Like, they remove hostage, they remove secure area, which were fun modes, and then they just removed recruit rushing. It's like, guys, what are we doing? Like, no, seriously. Seriously. How do you remove all of the fun things, bro? God, bring it back! But they are bringing back hostage, which is a major W.
recruits more competitively viable, but like you may have remembered me saying a second ago, they weren't in ranked. So they took away a lot of the fun casual aspects of the recruits and made them more viable for a competitive aspect. However, on the flip side, they still didn't allow them to be played in ranked, and they only kept them in casual. So they catered to the wrong audience for the recruits because competitive players couldn't play them and casual players didn't really have a desire to anymore. So by this point, the recruits were kind of just sitting there in the menu. No one really wanted to pick them, and you only ever got the recruit when you were AFK and it defaulted you to the recruit.
This is what I'm saying. This is the problem. The overarching thing about this video that is beautiful is you can see how Ubisoft slowly removed one of the funnest things in the game. And now they turned it into just more like try-hard, sweaty slop, where it's like, well, now I go striker, and I have flashes and grenades, and I haven't felt the touch of a woman in 19 years, and I don't give a fuck. Like that, like... But back in the day when you could recruit rush, it was the greatest thing about this game.
And then that even changed when they'd done an update where it will pick one of your most played operators if you go AFK instead of just the recruit. So the recruit standing in Rainbow Six Siege was leaving, and it was leaving fast. No one wanted to play them. They didn't serve a purpose anymore, especially since the operator roster was continuing to grow, and they would need a change. And that change wouldn't really come anytime soon. The next major iteration of a recruit we would see would be first announced in April of 2022, with the first ever announcement trailer for Rainbow Six Mobile, where we would get our first glimpse at the new versions of recruit in this game, simply known as the attacking recruit and the defending recruit, but their designs may be a bit familiar to you. Now, Rainbow Six Mobile is finally getting its global...
Son. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Come on, dude. What is this? Bring back the OG, man.
Release in February of 2026. So I've not had much hands-on with these versions of the recruits. But as far as I'm aware, they're even more restricted than their, at the time, Siege counterparts, only having one weapon as a primary, one secondary weapon option, and their 2 secondary gadgets are already predetermined, with the attacking recruit being frag grenades and breaching charges, and the defending one having the UMP, the 5.7 USG, as well as impacts and barbed wire. So from a gameplay perspective...
They even changed the name. It went from recruit to striker and sentry. It's like, what is the equivalent to this? It's like, let's say you go to college for 4 years, and you come back home, and you open your bedroom door, and your lifelong girlfriend is getting a train ran on her by the entire college football team. That is what this is like. No, literally. They changed the name of recruit. It's like, who even is this? They changed the name recruit. You can't go 5 recruits. What is this, bro? Legitimately, this is crap.
They didn't really have much to write home about, but their designs were pretty impressive.
Okay, why does R6 Mobile look kind of good? This is downstairs on Border? Bro, this looks good.
The attacking recruit perfectly represented what the attackers do. One of the big things was the harness for repelling, which is a big part of attacking in Siege. And then the defending recruit has the nail gun sort of drill device they use when they put up barricades and do other setups. So by all means, these designs did represent what attacking and defending recruits could do. But from a gameplay perspective, the mobile recruits aren't that impressive. This would also be the first ever time we would have recruit customization in Rainbow Six Siege. I know it's Rainbow Six Mobile, but it's an adjacent...
Bro, he just looks so, like... He looks so chuddy, bro. The old recruit had so much aura. Like, this guy just looks so chuddy, dude.
Game is built off of what Siege is meant to be. And this is something that would follow through with in Siege with the Recruit Remaster, which we'll talk about in a minute, but this was our first ever glimpse at something like that. Now, as we continue on, I want to give a little bit of an honorable mention to the Nighthaven recruits, because they're not technically the same recruits. These are your, like, Nighthaven soldiers, but I think their designs are really cool, and we've never really seen much of them outside of a few cinematics and the comic books. But around this time, we would get to see what Nighthaven soldiers looked like as well, being their equivalent of a rainbow recruit. I just thought that was worth mentioning, and I'd love to see this as a skin one day. And so we move into Year 9 Season 2 of Rainbow Six Siege, where Ubisoft would finally give an entire season dedicated to remastering the recruits. Now, I will say,
Listen to that again. Ubisoft will dedicate an entire season to remastering the recruits, i.e. making them more competitive and boring. They could have been making new operators. They could have been making new maps, but I don't want to keep dragging them through the mud because Year 11 is their best year ever. I think they're finally, maybe they fired some people, who knows? Maybe they hired some people. But whoever's calling the shots for Year 11, give that motherfucker a raise, give him a tuxedo, and maybe daily hand jobs. I'll do it if need be. I would go to Montreal, maybe weekly. I'll give them weekly hand jobs because, bro, what we have in Year 11 is the greatest year of updates ever. But again, 2 years ago, this is what they thought was a good idea. 2 years ago, they're like, you know what? Just pause everything. No more new operators. No more new maps. No more new weapons. Let's dedicate an entire season to reworking everybody's favorite operator of all time. And we'll call it Operation Prep Phase. Or, I don't even know if that was the one. Whatever it was. Trash! But Year 11 is their best year.
New Blood was a lackluster season. However, in retrospect and looking back at the history of the recruits, what they done to the recruits was a really good thing. I understand there's some downsides, and we'll talk about that as well. So with Year 9 Season 2, Ubisoft would completely remove the old recruits from the game, substituting them with a brand new attacking and defending operator known as Striker, being the
I'm overhating.
attacker, and Sentry being the defender. These two operatives would get their designs from their Rainbow Six Mobile attacking and defending counterparts. With one of the major parts of this remaster, removing the restriction of secondary gadget combinations, meaning that you could pair any of them together, so EMP nade and hard breach charge, flash grenades and frag grenades, there was no longer a restriction. As well as this, recruits were now treated as full operators, meaning that they had a slot on the operator screen, they could be fully customized, and the most important thing, they were now playable in every...
Chat, completely and totally random question, but which R6 operator would you let crack you? Like, if you're talking out of any operator ever, which one would you let crack you? I'm going with Lion Elite. I gotta? No, chat, I don't mean crack. I mean crack you. I'm going Elite Lion.
Single game mode, including ranked, just like any other operator. After almost 10 years, the recruits were now treated as operators. However, this did come at the cost of something which the previous recruits had, and that is the fact that you can no longer play more than one of them at the same time. Yes, because they removed the restriction of what you could combo with your secondary gadgets and now upgraded them to full ops, which made them playable in ranked, for balancing reasons, they have had to restrict it to 1 per team, the same as any other operator. I think a lot of people agree that Striker and Sentry are really good, but this is one of the most criticized parts of the remaster. I personally would be fine letting them be freely picked in casual, for example, but I think restricting them to 1 per team in ranked is valid, but for quick match, why not let people do 5-man? As I'm recording this video, we have the year 10 wildcard event, and one of the things you can do in this event is play as a 5-stack of Strikers and Sentries, and it's really fun. So now that the recruits have been upgraded into being a massive staple of the game now, being fully customizable, independent operators, I still want to clarify that they are still nameless soldiers and there is multiple of them. It isn't just single people. The versions we have now in Rainbow Six Siege are individuals. The Striker we play as is a British female, and the Sentry we play as is an American male. We can hear that from their voice lines.
Should we be going in this hot?
Nothing wrong with being a little bold.
Narratively, we see that they are...
Did she say bald? Tell her to hit my line. If you like bald guys with small penises.
Different, and you have different sentries and you have different strikers. Those are just the generalized terms given to the recruits which focus on attacking and which focus on defending. I would like them maybe to go down the path of more customization, allowing us to make them even more unique. Let's say I want to have a female sentry who is from France, for example. I think that'd be pretty cool. But that being said, Striker and Sentry are really solid operators. They have good pick rates. They are a great part of the game. People do have their complaints, such as the lack of 5-man casual pick for them, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this is the best version of the recruits in Rainbow Six Siege's history. Regardless of how rocky Operation New Blood was and some of the shortcomings of what has happened with this remaster, this is the best version that we've had of the recruits from a gameplay perspective. And it's really fun to customize them as well. Though I will say the one thing that makes me miss the older version of the recruits is the bigger pool of weapons you can choose from. So I do think if they could give both Striker and Sentry more weapons to choose from, then it would really solidify them as the ultimate version. But with them now being important parts of the narrative and being solidified customizable operators, we move into our final iteration of the recruits, which are the Carries Legion recruits. Yes, a major thing that happened in the narrative was that Rainbow's recruit system would be infiltrated by the Carries Legion, and this would allow them to attack from the inside. Good sentries and good strikers would be killed by evil Carries Legion soldiers posing as friendly teammates, and we would see them emerge and assault Hereford base in its own event. Not only would we get to play as these versions of Striker and Sentry in the event, these would also be released as cosmetics. And just like the Outbreak version with the new icon, these Carries Legion evil recruits would also have own unique icons when you would play as them. And now, in Year 10 Season 4, they serve as the model in the newly reintroduced and upgraded Terrorist Hunt. So, as it stands, that was every recruit we had in Rainbow Six Siege. From the OG version we've had since launch to the short-lasting FBI recruit from Outbreak, and now, of course, Striker and Sentry, who get their designs from Rainbow Six Mobile. What are your thoughts on the history of recruit in Rainbow Six Siege, and what design is your favorite one? I would love them to continue more of the customization. I'd love to maybe even see, I don't know, like the Nighthaven ones. I think the Nighthaven...
Bro, look, dude, all they gotta do, man, recruit's fun. They are, like whatever. All they gotta do is make a new operator every season, and a new map every 2 seasons, and I'll start gooning. I mean, I don't know. Maybe a new weapon every, 3 months, 6 months. Just add in new shit, bro. Stop trying to tweak old stuff that people like. Just add in new shit. But they are kind of doing that, so can't really be hating.